In the fall of 2019, a federal agent patrolling the Mark Twain National Forest in Missouri discovered something shocking. 8 freshly cut stumps, cleanly severed overnight. These weren't random trees. They were black walnuts, and someone had targeted them with surgical precision. To catch the thieves, investigators tapped into a 32-state DNA database. A genetic mapping system so advanced it matched a stolen log at a sawmill back to its exact stump, with odds of 1 in a million trillion. Why does the federal government maintain a DNA database for a tree? Because a single mature black walnut can be worth up to $25,000 in timber value alone. And stolen timber across North America costs over $1 billion every single year. But here's what the thieves didn't know. They were taking the wood and leaving behind the most valuable part, the green hull. Inside that hull is one of the most studied natural antiparasitic compounds on Earth, and it's something the $26 billion deworming drug industry has very little interest in you knowing about. The black walnut, scientifically known as Juglone's niche gru, has been documented as medicine for over 2,000 years. The Romans called it the nut of Jupiter. Pliny the Elder recorded its medicinal properties in the 1st century AD. But long before European settlers arrived, the Cherokee and Iroquois nations had already mastered the black walnut's healing power, using the green hulls to treat intestinal worms, skin infections, and fever. They also discovered something remarkable. Crush the green hulls and drop them into a still pond, and the fish rise to the surface, paralyzed but alive. The active compound responsible? Juglone. It disrupts the respiratory enzymes fish need to breathe. The Cherokee reasoned, if it could paralyze fish in water, it could paralyze the parasites and worms living inside the human gut. That logic held up, and modern lab science is starting to confirm it. The science. What Juglone actually does. Juglone isn't just in the hull, it's in the roots, the bark, the leaves. It's the tree's entire chemical defense system. Gardeners discover this the hard way. Plant tomatoes or peppers near a black walnut tree, and within weeks they wilt and die. This is called allelopathy. The tree releases Juglone into the soil to eliminate competing plants at a molecular level. Inside the human body, laboratory studies show Juglone is toxic to roundworms, tapeworms, and protozoa, including GARDA. It works by inhibiting the metabolic enzymes parasites need to generate energy, essentially starving them at the cellular level. Livestock studies using black walnut hull extract have already demonstrated significant reductions in parasite burdens in animals. The science exists. The question is, why isn't this mainstream? (4436) The real reason it's ignored. Unproven means unfunded. Here's the uncomfortable truth about modern medicine and natural remedies. A clinical trial costs tens of millions of dollars. Those trials are funded almost exclusively by pharmaceutical companies that hold patents on synthetic antiparasitic drugs like albendazole and VR-MOX. The global antiparasitic drug market is worth $26 billion. You cannot patent a tree growing in a Kentucky backyard. A remedy that anyone can harvest with a 5-gallon bucket does not support a business model built on monthly prescriptions. In the medical world, unproven very often just means unfunded. The research simply doesn't get done. Not because the compound doesn't work, but because there's no financial incentive to prove that it does. 730, the hidden epidemic. Parasites are not just a third world problem. Most Americans assume intestinal parasites are a problem in developing countries. The CDC tells a different story. Tens of millions of people in the United States are currently carrying parasites, roundworms, pinworms, toxoplasma, without any diagnosis. The symptoms are easy to miss: unexplained fatigue, bloating after eating, persistent brain fog, disrupted sleep patterns. These are routinely blamed on stress, aging, or poor diet. Meanwhile, the actual cause may be a parasitic infection that traditional healers across multiple cultures have treated for centuries, with the green hull of the black walnut. How to identify and harvest. The green window. Black walnut trees grow across the eastern United States, from the Great Plains to the Atlantic coast. You may already have one on your property and not know it. The harvest window is narrow and critical. You need the hulls when they are bright green, firm, and unbruised, typically between July and September. Once the hull blackens and oxidizes, its medicinal potency drops dramatically. Important: always wear heavy rubber gloves when handling the hulls. Juglone is a powerful natural dye. It will stain your skin deep brown black for several days and can permanently stain countertops, clothing, and cutting boards. If your hands turn dark, that's confirmation of potency. You'll just be explaining it to everyone you meet for the next week. The most effective traditional preparation is a green hull tincture. Pack fresh green hulls tightly into a clean glass jar. Cover completely with 80-proof alcohol. Vodka or food-grade grain alcohol both work. Seal the jar and store it in a cool, dark location for 6 to 8 weeks. The result is a deep, brown-green liquid that concentrates the active compounds from the hull. Traditional Appalachian protocols recommend 10 to 30 drops in water, 1 to 3 times daily, for up to 4 weeks. Because this is a potent compound, always start at the lowest dose. Consult a healthcare provider before use, especially if you are pregnant, nursing, or taking blood thinners.